Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Hope everyone's well wherever you are. I've been thinking about this one for a bit of time, but I didn't really think through the list of things I'm going to cover completely. So anyway, I hope it goes well, of course, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm moving. Actually, I've moved back to my own room here to record because I didn't. My mum said she's going to be going back and forth, and I didn't want her to get in the way, so I just came to my room. You can't see how much of a hoarder I am with this the room at the moment. But I think the room looks quite nice, actually, in a way. Well, the wallpaper, at least. Um, but anyway, I'll try not to waffle too much, as ever. I know I do have the wings with that. I've stripped my bed, but I've not made it, so well, you can't see it anyway. But yeah, I still need to make it. But after I made this video, I'm going to make my bed and then go to sleep for a bit. But anyway, basically, the idea of these videos to cut a long story short is, or the goal or dream or whatever, is to unite together Asia and Africa and look at what they have in common. I actually wanted to make it, but I forgot on the last day of March, or at least the first day of April, because March is like a month where I hope to like empower the black community or Africa and indigenous Africans and Australasians especially, and different groups. But April, I wanted to focus on April, May and June. I want to focus on Asia. And August, I hope to bring all the groups I wish to support together, to network together. Anyway, so I did actually want to do so on the last day of March or the first day of April, or somewhere between that kind of time. Sorry, runny nose again. But if you see my other videos, you know I often suffer from having a runny nose. But I know it's a first world problem. Anyway, but yeah, I forgot to cover it, so I didn't get around to it till now. So. Blimmin' runny nose. But yeah, so basically, as I say, I forgot to cover it on the last day of March or first day of April, and so I'm covering it now. And I hope people from across Africa and Asia watch these videos. Well, as many people as possible. And as ever, I'd love to read people's comments, and I'll put in the Q&A in the live chat. I put what do you think of Africa and Shrikor Asia, in my unique way of saying things. But anyway, I'm going to try and crack on with the list of my ideas. And this is another one of my list videos because I like to do things in list form sometimes, so it helps me to remember things. Or organize things and stuff like that. So here goes. So number one, I would love for Egypt to host as many events as possible, bringing together Africa and Asia, like looking at what they have in common, the fact they were colonized, which I have to mention, or other things. Well, mainly the fact they were colonized, basically. But yeah, I'd love to connect them together in like sort of things like filmmaking, film or movies or whatever you want to call it, like helping each other helping African and Asian films, film stars, directors, film producers mainly, and that kind of thing, and maybe look at what they can learn from each other, how they can support each other's industries, including film industries, music industries. So yeah, movies, music, films, or whatever you call them, as well. Whatever films or music, whichever term. Films or movies, whichever term you prefer, and music and all sorts of different industries to sort of work together. And Egypt to facilitate or host or organise many of these events as much as possible, bringing together the African and Asian Union. One of the problems is African countries are not always united. Well, very rarely are they united with their own. Even like country-wise, like Kenya, for instance, unfortunately doesn't have much unity, or even South Africa or Nigeria or many of the African countries, except for perhaps Rwanda, which has put its past to the side. And I suppose if they can unite, then that's perhaps some say it's a role model for all of Africa to look up to. And it's similar for Asia, like even parts of India don't get along, and parts of China and parts of Japan probably don't even get along with each other. Let alone the whole continent. So it'd be great to unite all of Africa and all of Asia with like all the countries in Africa and Asia, respectively, and then all of the continent of Asia to unite and all the continent of Africa to unite, and then they could hopefully even unite with each other and help each other to learn how to what they can learn from each other and that kind of thing. Number two, again, on that note, like what they can learn from each other, I think would be great, like learning how to make films, produce things, direct films, make and produce films, and learning about each other's countries, what they like about each other's countries, and what they can improve and what they can learn from each other to improve themselves and each other, what they can learn about each other's countries and what they can learn from each other's countries. As ever, I'd love to read your questions or comments or anything else you want to put in the comment section, but basic comments generally. But yeah, like what African and Asian nations can learn about each other and from each other, and how they can perhaps network together as well, just generally, so they can support each other and benefit each other, mainly learning from each other, I think, as well, and like investing together and that kind of thing. And I'd love for Egypt to be the country that mainly the main nation between, as a bridge between Africa and Asia, and like they could host and organize events and have buildings and different summits and events, maybe existing buildings, or maybe make new buildings that can bring them together, the African Union and Asian Union or Asian Alliance or whatever, and Asian and African organizations, bring them together as much as possible. And again, look at what they have in common, the fact they were colonized, if they learn about what they have in common and look at what they have in common instead of what they have that's different from each other, hopefully that can bring them together. And again, they can learn from and about each other, and vice versa. Maybe some things that, for instance, one country in Africa does well that other countries in Africa or even Asia don't do so well, and then vice versa. So they could learn from each other, like learn what they can improve and that kind of thing. But again, I'd love to hear what you think about each of these points I raised, or any other points you have generally. Number 3, I would love for people from Africa and Asia to talk about what liberty, libertarianism, freedom, basically, and human rights mean to them, what freedoms and human rights they think they should have within their own countries and each other's countries, and that kind of thing. And yeah, to discuss freedom and that, and what freedom, libertarianism, liberty, basically, and all that kind of thing. Just generally. John Bobbitt asked, what are you on about? Well, basically, it's about Asia and Africa learning from each other, networking together, supporting each other, and that sort of thing, mainly in Egypt, because Egypt, I can't if I said this in the intro, but Egypt is basically, I think, the only transcontinental country, which for those who don't know means a country between 2 different continents. And they said 2 different countries then, but between 2 different continents. So like Turkey's a transcontinental country between Europe and Asia, and I don't know if I think there are quite a few, like Armenia and 1 or 2 others, which are transcontinental, maybe even Greece, maybe in Russia, which are transcontinental countries. And the only one between Africa and Asia is Egypt. And John Bobbitt also asked, can I slow down? So apologies if I do speak a bit fast, because I don't like the videos to be too long, and I probably get a bit nervous and speak a bit fast. And I thought I did explain it properly, but he's saying I didn't. So I apologize if that doesn't make sense. But if you have any specific questions, please don't hesitate to ask if there's anything you don't understand. But transcontinental countries are basically countries between 2 continents. So I would like Asia and African nations to unite together and support each other, learn from each other, learn about each other, and that kind of thing. I hope that answered that question, because John Bobbitt asked, what do you want Africa and Asia to do exactly? And can I be more specific? And I thought that was quite self-explanatory. So, and number 4, like they can have peace pacts between each other. They can, I'll say, look at what they have in common rather than what they think, what's different about them. They can look at what they have in common. And John Bobbitt also said it's very vague. I disagree, but if you do agree with John, with Mr. Bobbitt, please post that in the comment section or whatnot. Generally, and he also said they do that already, but I think they could do more of that. So I would like them to be, I'd love for them to be more united. And again, like they could work together, movies, in the music industries, the movie industries, music, movies or films or whatever you want to call them, and things like that. And I think John Bobbitt is going a bit off topic now. But anyway, yeah, he's asking me if I'm gay or whatever, or if I'm homosexual, same thing, whatever. But anyway, I think that's diverting from the topic. I think he's trying to troll me again, as ever. And thank you, John Bobbitt, for your questions and comments and that kind of thing, and welcome them, as with anyone else's. Number 5, but yeah. But yeah, what they can do together, like to learn from each other and things like that. On the subject of, this is a quite controversial thing, but I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to offend anyone. But I like to give human rights, and I think people should have choices. But me personally, I don't. I'm not hugely into the. And again, I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm not hugely into the T bit of the LGBTQA, or whatever it's called, ABCD and whatever. Again, I don't want to offend anyone. But yeah, I'm not too big into transsexuality or stuff like that. But I do think people should have human rights and make choices as long as they don't force those choices onto other people. And as I said, I'd love to support libertarianism. But yeah, number 5, basically, I would love for them to work together on goals and that kind of thing. Number 6, I would love to encourage people from across Africa and Asia to support Italian football, and Egypt could perhaps facilitate that as a reward for helping Egypt, because I hope this would help Egypt with its tourism, trade, and by facilitating this sort of thing, I hope that Egypt itself, as well as all African and Asian nations generally, will benefit. Egypt as a facilitator and the host, I hope will probably benefit maybe the most. But I also hope, I would say that, excuse me, sorry. I also I hope that Egypt will benefit the most. But yeah, I hope that also Egypt and other African and Asian nations will love Italian football. And I also dream that Serie A or Italian football generally will be promoted across Africa and Asia, and Italians will improve relations between Africans and Asians through football. I think John Bobbitt is trolling me because he's going a bit off topic, but I do welcome all comments and questions and queries and whatever people comment, even if it's harsh or whatever. But I don't want to be diverted too much from the topic at hand of the goals of this project, which I wish to work on and promote. Number 7, I'd love to read like your suggestions about how I could promote these ideas and what you think African and Asian nations should do, and your views about things, even if it's politics or LGBTQ or whatever other views you might have on whatever other topics, or how you think Asian and African nations can work together on tackling global warming and things like that. And if you want to make response videos or anything like that, or a response video, I welcome it, as long as you don't dox me or as long as you're not threatening or you don't break the law, because I don't encourage anything like that, or as long as you're not as long as you don't dox me or make any threatening stuff or do anything illegal. I want to make a disclaimer that I don't encourage anything like that. But yeah, also I dream to promote Celtic FC as ever across Asia and Africa. And I know I probably covered videos like this before on Egypt and how I'd love for them to unite Asia and Africa through Egypt. But sometimes I forget those ideas, and it's good to remind myself. And also I might come up with new ideas since then, or other people might not have seen those. So I sometimes might repeat myself a few times because those points are important to me. And yeah, I think there should be human rights and religious freedoms, rights and expressions, and any law-abiding citizen in Asia and across Asia and Africa, I think, should be protected as long as they don't break laws. I suppose each nation has their own laws. Like some nations have anti-gay laws or whatever in Africa and possibly Asia as well. Me personally, I'd love to have more libertarian stuff if they want to do whatever, as long as they don't force their way onto other people. And I think, shall we say, sex education should be something that talks about how expensive it is to raise a child if people want to have families, and what it takes and how much effort it takes to make sure a child is safe and things like that. I'd say I'm not really transphobic. It's just that it's not something I personally agree with, but I do think people should be able to do whatever they want, as long as they don't hurt other people, preferably, and don't break the law. And I want to respect all laws within different Asian and African nations. Again, another thing they could learn is what laws would suit their country, respectively, what they could learn from each other in that regard as well. But yeah, I've gone a bit off topic, but I'd love to also to promote Celtic in Africa and Asia. Number 8. I would love to promote like Asian and African nations talk about positive things they love about each other and what they love about each other generally, and how they can make their countries more positive and united and things like that. Sorry, I'm just laughing at some of the things in the live chat. I do appreciate them. Apparently I look like an Easter egg. Anyway, moving on. Number 9, I dream that they'll also support projects like each other's poets, artists, writers, architects, how we pronounce it, designers, scientists, technologists. African countries could African countries sorry, Asian nations could train African nations in technology, and that could be a way to build trade relations in return for trade relations. Like, I know I've mentioned this before, again, apologies for repeating myself, but the IIT, Indian Institute of Technology, that is, for those who might have missed that previous video, could help to train Africans to have their own version, like the AIT, and Africans could travel to India and vice versa. And I know they already kind of do that, but maybe they could do that even more and up that sort of stuff and discuss. Each African and Asian nation could discuss what their each Asian and African nation could talk about what their own personal goals are and how they could help each other to reach their full potential. How they prioritize, help each other to reach their aspirations and work together on their aspirations and goals and dreams generally, and learning about each other politically and that kind of thing. And yeah, support each other's poets, artists, writers, engineers, scientists, technologists, entrepreneurs. Support each other to learn each other's languages and about each other's cultures, and look at how to trade together and how they can learn English to trade. Yeah, English is a good language to sort of trade with each other, I suppose, even though I'm not that patriotic, but as you can probably tell. But yeah, I think it is a good way for them to learn for their own empowerment when they can trade. So basically, the goals are, or the dream is mainly involves empowering Asian and African nations and their ambitions and aspirations and things like that. And number 10, I also dream that they will empower young people, give young people a voice, and by growing their economies, they'll look at how employment and things like that could help younger people by increasing employment and decreasing, obviously, unemployment. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up and then post the comments in the tags, sorry, and edit the tags or whatever, and the information, or check it I've got the right information, and then I'm gonna make my bed and have a rest for a bit, and then later on go to the gym and hopefully make part 2, 3, and even 4, and I hope you'll check them out. And yeah, I'd love to read, especially from people from Africa and Asia, and especially Egypt itself, and Italian football fans as well, and Celtic FC fans. Yeah, so I'm going to a local gym. I'm not going to reveal where it is because I don't want people to know where I live. Anyway, peace and love. I am out.